Let's welcome back to the Mike Gallagher Show from the great state of Texas, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, great having you on the show. How have you been, sir?
Mike, I'm doing terrific. Great to be with you.
Always great to catch up with you. You know, you wrote the book called A Time for Truth, Reigniting the Promise of America. Let's get to some truth about Obamacare for just a moment, because Republicans are struggling with it. You, as usual, provide a lot of clarity, a lot of great logic behind this very difficult proposition. Here's my concern, and let me bounce it off you. President Trump promised to repeal and replace Obamacare. What do we tell people who are going to come unglued? And I'm not worried about CNN. I'm not worried about the New York Times, but I'm worried about hardworking Americans who are trying to keep their families covered. They might be on an exchange. They have the Affordable Care Act, and then Republicans come along and pull the rug out from under them, and rather than replace, they just take Obamacare away with nothing to show for it.
Well, look, I think we have to honor our promise to repeal Obamacare. Republicans have been campaigning for 7 years, promising to do exactly that. I think if we don't get it done, we look like laughingstocks, and the voters would be entirely justified in saying, you guys don't mean what you're saying. And so I am pressing very much to bring Republicans together to honor that promise. Now, nobody thinks that we're done just when we repeal Obamacare. Everyone acknowledges that we've got to have real and meaningful health care reform. That unites all Republicans. And so what that replacement looks like, that's a subject of considerable debate. And that's really what we're wrestling with in the Senate. Mm-hmm. In my view, we should have two central priorities. One, honoring our promise to repeal Obamacare. And two, critically, lowering premiums. I think the single biggest reason people are unhappy with Obamacare, the reason people are hurting under it, is it's made premiums skyrocket. And we have got to lower premiums, make health care more affordable. And the way to lower premiums is to have more competition, more choices, more options, so that more people who are struggling can afford to get health insurance for their families.
But, Senator, isn't it true that Trump's promise was to repeal and replace? Is this just a timing issue? Or, I mean, because, of course, you're right when you say we got to fulfill the promise to repeal. We got to fulfill the promise to replace, too, right?
Absolutely. And let's be clear. Trump's tweet the last week was not saying that there should be no replacement. What he said is, if Senate Republicans can't come together and unify, we can't get it done now, that we should pass repeal first. Now, repeal would be with a later deadline, so it wouldn't go into immediate effect.
Right.
It would be repeal scheduled to go into effect a year from now or 2 years from now, with a design that in that time, Congress would get its act together and pass a replacement.
Right,
so
but of course the political component, and I hate to be cynical, but we've got a midterm election in 2018, and boy, are we going to get hammered as Republicans if there's this narrative. And you know, part of the trouble is, who cares? I mean, I don't know how much worse the mainstream media can get right now over Republicans or the Trump agenda. But let's face it, it's going to be a bloodbath if there's the story, well, millions have lost their health care and Republicans couldn't get their act together and have anything to replace it with.
Well, sure, but look, the mainstream media is going to attack and try to demonize Republicans no matter what happens. I mean, they have a political agenda, and one of the things we've seen is they've taken off their mask and they're not even pretending not to be partisan actors right now. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you know what? Frankly, I don't spend any time worrying about it. They're gonna play their partisan games. I think we need to focus on delivering results. And so my approach to Washington, I ignore the political circus there.
Sure.
I ignore the hyperventilating voices on cable news and focus on let's deliver results. I think the four big priorities for 2017 are repealing Obamacare, major regulatory reform, lifting the burdens on small businesses and job creators, major tax reform, ideally a simple flat tax and abolishing the IRS, and the U.S. Supreme Court, making sure we put principled constitutionalists on the court. If we deliver on those four, 2017, 2018 will be blockbuster years, historic years, And if we screw them up, if we don't deliver on them, then this could be one of the most heartbreaking missed opportunities in ages. And so I think we should focus on let's do what we promised. Let's pass pro-growth economic policies that bring back jobs, millions of jobs, high wages. That's what the voters want. That's certainly what the people of Texas want, and that's what people across America want.
And of course, you can connect those dots, Senator, because on the regulatory issue, if healthcare providers can get some regulations rolled back, there's a free market process that can lead to people who have been on the exchanges who can say, hey, I can afford ABC company over here to buy my health care from. I mean, there's a very important connection of the dots here, right?
Mike, you're exactly right, and that's what I'm pressing for. Is the biggest thing I'm pressing for is what I'm calling the consumer freedom option. That is giving consumers the freedom, giving you the freedom to choose what health insurance you want to buy. If you want to buy something with all the Obamacare mandates, with all the bells and whistles, the full Cadillac plan, you can do that. You can pay for that if that's your choice.
Right.
But the consumer freedom option says, in addition to those plans, which will stay on the market, you can also buy any other plan you want, which means if you want to buy a more trimmed down plan, maybe you want to buy just catastrophic insurance. You don't have the money for the full Cadillac, but you do want something if, God forbid, you get some horrible disease or get hit by a truck. You can buy that now. Obamacare doesn't let you buy that. Obamacare makes those illegal. That's why the average family premiums have gone up over $5,000 a year, and people can't afford health insurance. And I think the answer is more choice, more competition, more freedom, lower premiums to let you decide what health care needs you and your family have.
I know how busy you are. I want to leave you with this question, and you've always been a straight shooter. I want to ask you about your level of optimism. The president right now is in Germany, the G20 summit. He continues to. I think it was Rush Limbaugh who had the analogy of the guy that holds the laser pointer with the cat, and he just put with the media. What Trump is doing with the media has been a thing to behold. He points the laser pointer to one end of the living room, the cat runs over there. Then he points it over to the other side, the cat runs over there. I mean, they just seem to be imploding in their frustration and their anger and their rage about this president. He keeps chugging along. Do you feel confident and optimistic about the direction of the country under President Trump, where we stand right now here in July of 2017, or are you worried?
Look, I'm hopeful, but of course I'm worried. We have an opportunity. The week after the election in November, I got on a plane. I flew to New York, and I went to Trump Tower. I sat down with the president-elect. And I told him at the time, I said, listen, we have an historic opportunity. This is very, very rare. We have Republican control of the White House, of every executive agency, and of both houses of Congress. This has not happened many times in history. We have got to deliver. And what I told the president then is that I wanted to do everything I could to help lead the fight to deliver on our promises. And that's my focus every day, trying to unite in the Senate. We've got a really narrow Republican majority, just 52 Republicans. So I'm trying to bring together conservatives and moderates and leadership and the president and the administration, bring everyone together and say, let's do what we said we would do.
Right.
And one thing I told the president back in January, I said, listen, if we get real tax reform and strong reg reform with Obamacare repeal, the economy will take off. And I'll tell you, if the economy is growing at 4 or 5% GDP growth, you'll be reelected in a landslide. Nothing else matters. Let's bring back jobs.
Senator Ted Cruz, you've always been so accessible. We appreciate it. And please forgive me in advance. I promise I'm going to talk about the 2018 National Defense Authorization Act. We'll get you back to talk about that, but I know that's very important to you. But health care is so crucial right now, and I'm grateful so much for your time, Senator Cruz. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you, my friend.